Hi. For this worksheet that has been posted, I'm just going to do a short video where we're going to go over a few of those example problems in case some of you are struggling or some of you are confused. So I'm just going to jump right into it. I'm going to try to keep this pretty short. We'll do some problems and then I'll leave some of them the rest for you. Just as a start, you do have vocabulary words right up here. The relationship between the angles is listed as well as what the relationship is, if it's congruent or supplementary. All right. So what in example one we are given that this measure of angle 1 is 65 degrees, right? So this angle right here is 65 degrees. So if I want, I can take and I could label this. You probably are not able to do it, but this angle is 65 degrees. All right. So our question is now, how much is measure of angle 2? Now, measure of angle 2, right? These two are on the same line. So angles that are on the same line, they do what? They form a linear pair, right? If we look up on a linear pair is right up here, it's always supplementary, right? And if we go back to think about it, supplementary means that they're going to add up to 180 degrees. So what you're going to do in this case, right, you would do 180, right, minus 65, and that's going to give you the measure of angle 2. All right, 180 minus 65 is going to be 115, right? So you would label this as 115, and that would give me the measure of angle 2, right? Now on this worksheet, what I do is I click this, and the text button comes up. I write in 115. If you want to be more formal, you could write in degrees, and that would be your correct answer, right? That saves it. Now I'm going to just look at measure of angle 3. What's our angle pair relationship here? Well, this is their vertical angles, right? So that means measure of angle 3 is going to be 65 degrees. Okay. And now I can look at measure of angle 4. Measure of angle 4, well, it's vertical with angle 2. So that's also going to be 115 degrees, right? Because vertical angles are congruent. Okay, so as I'm going to keep doing this, I'm going to keep going measure angle 5. Now, 1 and 5, right? What kind of angles are these? Well, if I take a look, I go back to my notes maybe. 1 and 5 are corresponding angles. And if I take a look, corresponding angles, oh cool, they're congruent. So angle 1 is 65 degrees. That means angle 5 has to be 65 degrees. And as you will see, once you get the first two, these actually become pretty easy because then again, 2 and 6, well, they're corresponding. 6 is also right here. It's also a linear pair with 5. So I'm gonna just follow the same math. That's gonna be 115 degrees. Angle 7 is gonna be vertical with angle 5, so that's gonna be 65 degrees. And angle 8 is going to be vertical with angle 6, so that's going to be 115 degrees. All right. So that's this first example that we just went over. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to do example 2 on your own, following the same structure. All right. It does ask you to give your reasoning. Oh, I'm sorry. So I forgot to do that here. That meant like for this one, I would write 115 degrees, right? And then I would put linear pair. Right? My reasoning in angle 3 would be, well, it's a vertical angle with angle 1. All right. So you do want to be providing the reasons, right? Angle 4 would be, well, it's a vertical angle with angle 2. All right. So make sure you're giving that reasoning. Unfortunately, I forgot to do that at the start, but you should be able to go back and do that. And what we're going to do here is you're going to do example 2 by yourself. And then what we'll do is we'll go over this example, and the rest of the worksheet that is featured here will be for you to complete, okay? So what I'm going to do is let's take a look at what we have here, okay? We want to find x, we want to find a measure of angle ABD. So ABD, that's this angle here. Okay, so once we find X, we can find that angle. And then angle DBC, which is this angle here. Now, in order to do that, we're also going to have to find the measure of angle ABD. And then we notice that DBC is a linear pair, right? So once we know this angle, we can use the linear pair, or the fact that these two angles are supplementary, to figure it out. But first we have to do that. First we got to find X. Now, finding X here can be a little bit challenging because we don't know the value of angle ABD, right? But we do know that angle ABD is a corresponding angle with angle D over here, right? With just angle D. You know, actually, we can't actually call it angle D, but that's all the information we have. But what we do know is that these two angles are congruent, right? Because they're corresponding angles. So congruence means they're equal. So what we can do in that case is we can send them equal to each other. 5x, right, plus 55, and that's going to equal 2x plus 100. Okay. And I know that looks like a 6, but let's just, all right. So now we're going to combine like terms. So I'm going to subtract 2x. I'm going to get 3x, right? I'm going to subtract 55. So 100 minus 50 is going to give me 45. So 3x equals 45. And I'm going to, I'm not showing all the steps here, but believe me, it's going to get pretty ugly if I keep showing every steps. Then I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3. And 45 divided by 3 is going to x equals 15. Okay, so x equals 15. So I can write that in. Let me change this to the cursor. X equals 15. So I'm going to put that in my text, right? This blue right here tells me I'm done. Now I want to find that measure of angle ABD. Well, I know x equals 15, right? So what I can do is I can substitute. Like we've learned this in the past. You learned it last year. Instead of an x, we're going to put 15. So we're going to do 5 times, and I'm going to do parentheses, 15 plus 55. 5 times 15 equals 75, right? And 75 plus 55 is going to give me 130. So we know that's a terrible 3, but let's pretend this says 130. So we know the measure of angle ABD, so I'm going to go back to my cursor, is 130 degrees. Now if this here is 130, right, and it's a linear pair, so I'm going to do 180 minus 130, which equals 50. And that's going to give me the measure of angle DBC. Okay? So that is that. This is where I'm actually going to pause this video because the skills you learn here is going to help you with being able to figure out the rest. So please do this problem here, right? Following pretty similar steps. Look at what the relationship is, and then you'll be able to find the angles and x. And then figure out the other two examples. And then when you're done, please make sure to submit it, because I have seen some people who are doing it, but they forget to submit it. And it's really much, much easier for us as teachers to be able to do it when it is submitted, okay? All right, well, thank you. And hopefully this will help, and you will be ready for a mastery check maybe tomorrow.